Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
This is live or recorded from Phoenix, Arizona.
We're still in Phoenix. It's nice.
I was playing on a swing. It wasn't intentionally a sex swing, but people have used it for sex. It was kind of a aerial yoga thing, and I was playing with it last night, and it fell out of the ceiling. So I'm in much pain today.
But he looked really lovely right before it fell.
I was very graceful.
You were. You were hanging from your toes.
Thank God it didn't snap then.
Yeah.
So Allie's going to drive the rest of the way. But I'm okay. My hip is bruised, and my kink friends will really get into that.
Yeah.
And my shoulder blade, my left scapula, is pretty angry at me right now, or more angry at gravity, I think. What are we talking about today?
We had a really interesting conversation with some people that were guests at the party last night about our sexual identities, and so I thought it might be fun to talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So, what's your sexual identity?
Right now, I'm severely limited in my mobilizations. I'm differently abled right now. That's my identity right now. I'm in pain.
Come on.
I'm a queer, polyamorous slut.
So, okay, that's a lot. What's the queer part mean to you?
It's an umbrella term that means ask me more.
So it doesn't mean gay anymore.
No, it doesn't mean gay. It can mean gay, but basically queer means not straight. So whatever that means, or in the same way that you would say, like, I'm out of the box, people would be like, well, what does that mean? And queer is really useful because for other queer people, they'll usually be like, well, what kind of queer? And for heteronormative straight folks, it basically lets them know that I consider myself not straight. Well, I guess you could be straight and queer.
It's a bigger conversation.
Yeah, that's another video for another time. What about you?
I identify as queer. I used to identify as all sorts of things, but let's see. I started off bisexual when I was in middle school, high school. Then I went to college, and I was really bisexual. And then I graduated from college, and I was a lesbian. Mm-hmm. And then I met you, and I was kind of still a lesbian, but that had a shelf life.
Well, when I meet people, I tell them you're a lesbian.
Just because it makes you sound cooler.
Absolutely.
So now I identify as queer too, because
I told them
it's the word that fits best.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lesbian never really fit anyway, but it was the best that I had at the time for describing to people like who I was into, which was exclusively women. Mm-hmm. But now that my tastes and proclivities are not exclusively women, obviously because of you, but also because I date a lot of genderqueer and trans people, mm-hmm. and it's important for me to have that term be really all-inclusive, because I think lesbian still indicates in a weird way that you only date women, and sometimes, especially in the lesbian community nowadays, a lot of lesbians are transitioning to trans identities, which for the partners of those people can be really confusing because it changes your identity almost by proxy.
And you talk about a little bit about this in your novel.
I do. Yeah, because I think it's a really interesting issue that's affecting the queer female community nowadays, is that as transitioning gender becomes actually more popular, it's happening more and more, it does affect the way we have to identify ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's really interesting because as everyone's sexual proclivities change, and for trans guys too, a lot of times they'll be lesbians and then they start to transition, and suddenly they'll be curious about male sexuality for the first mm-hmm. time. And so it's really interesting to have words that can encompass, non-binary oriented identities, because, so we're realizing that as gender becomes more malleable and as that people feel more comfortable playing with both gender and sexuality, there are no fixed rules. There are very few people that actually fall into one camp and stay there for their entire lives. Most people, when they give themselves the benefit of the doubt and the ability to find traction and love wherever it looks and however it looks, people are finding that those words, even for gay men, or straight men, don't fit very well. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really exciting, but I think that's why the word queer works so well for me, is because I've been privileged to never have it being thrown at me like a slur, because that's very much a generational thing for a lot of gay men, or gender non-conforming men. But I think it's also beautiful to have a queer identity mean more.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, ultimately, I'm gonna tell you, go find words that work for you. Queer is convenient in a certain way because there's a community built around it. It can be an umbrella term.
Well, our friend Buck Angel, I asked him, or I didn't even ask him, but he volunteered. He's like, people ask him all the time what his orientation is, and he says he's sexual, right? He's a human being who's sexual, which encompasses it all. It doesn't have to mean any specific
sexual,
thing.
yeah, but sexual also doesn't give anybody any particular idea on how he identifies around gender.
Well, I know he identifies as a man.
Yeah, but when he says sexual, if somebody's asking you how you identify, and it's questionable,
I think it's an invitation to ask more, just like queer is, right? Like it's a word that means, there's a negotiation that can happen if we're both attracted to one another.
my identity is I'm available, or I'm easy.
You're easy.
Yes. Or what I like to do, we stole this from a friend of ours, Lauren, I'm awesome sexual. So if you're awesome, there's a good chance I want in your pants. Your mileage may vary. Anything else?
Your mileage definitely
Yes.
varies. No, I think that's it. So tomorrow we're going to be driving to San Diego. We'll be there.
You're going to be driving to
I will be
San Diego.
driving to San Diego. You will be curled in the fetal position in the passenger seat, whining at every bump that I go over on the road.
Sucking on a bottle of rum.
This is going to be interesting this weekend.
So
we'll be in San Diego for a couple days,
yeah.
and I'm going to head home to Oakland.
Yeah, and then I go to Dallas. I'll be in LA for the XBiz show. I'm doing a little thing for them. And then I'll be in Dallas for the weekend. And then I'll be in Oakland for 3 days.
Yay.
And then I have to go to Vegas for the AVN Porn Awards.
Oh, so
'cause I'm
hard
teaching
being
there.
you. You have to go.
Well, it was easy until I fell off a sex swing. All right, bye guys.
Bye.